We love talking about real estate.
We do?
We're always talking about real estate in the office, at the brokerage, at Remax, and why not share it with our clients and give them the insights?
Absolutely. I agree with you. Keeping in with that theme, Michelle, obviously you're working with a lot of clients on the, listing side of things. They're selling homes. Obviously working with a lot of clients that are looking to buy homes. What are you seeing on the ground right now? I mean, give everyone a high-level view of what's happening, what's the ground reality in the GTA market right now.
This year, we've seen a lot of ups and downs and a lot of changes. I think right now we're exactly at the curve where we're going to see a better shift for the home buyers and home sellers. It's been a tough year because a lot of home sellers were struggling, and the GTA real estate market, 80 to 90% of the time, we're on the sellers market, and sellers are so used to seeing the multiple offers.
Yep.
And now this year, we're seeing a change where we are on the buyer's end, and it's a perfect opportunity. What's been really interesting that since the last rate drop on September 5th, was it? We saw the number of new listings hit the market double in the GTA.
Yes.
And a lot of home sellers were waiting on the sidelines.
And showings as well, right? Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
I'll
Showings
get there.
well.
Yes, I'll get to the showings. But a lot of home sellers were waiting on the sideline, just wanting to know, are the buyers going to come back with the rate cuts? And we did see an improvement on number of showings booked, about 20%.
Oh, wow.
But compared to the number of new listings on the market, is still causing competition and still is still on the buyer's side and favor in the market.
Right. And keeping in with that theme with calling it a buyer's market, we've seen some relaxation in the mortgage rules as well. I mean, we did a video on this, the 30-year amortizations, price cap for insured mortgages, where you have a down payment less than 20% being increased to 1.5 million. So do you think that has a lot to do with it too? Like people are, sort of getting a positive message, a lot of buyers?
It will certainly help the market. I'm so happy to see new regulations kick in. This is exactly what we needed. And I think the next 6 months belongs to first-time home buyers or buyers that were out of the market, waiting on the sideline, not having the opportunity to come in. I think the next 6 months is going to be that highlight point for these type of buyers to come in for multiple reasons. Interest rates are down, and they're coming down. They're promising.
Yes, I think we're going to get at least 2 more this year.
Exactly. Prices are down for the first time. After a long time, we're seeing the prices decline. And also, investors are out of the real estate market as well.
That's a great point that you bring up about investors. So give everyone an overview. What's happening in the market right now? Because based on my research, what I've heard, obviously speaking to a lot of different real estate brokers, it seems to be a void. Like it feels like investors have just got up and left the market. Like, is that the case? Like, what are you seeing?
That's exactly what I'm seeing with my clientele. I work with a lot of investors that specialize in real estate investing. We're seeing a lot of burned investors, and they just don't want to deal with real estate right now. They've got a lot on their plate. Some purchase pre-cons at a higher value, and they haven't seen the return on their investments yet. Some have rented their properties out, and with landlord and tenants board regulations, they haven't been protected as far as tenants not paying rent.
That's a big one, right?
That's a big one, which is the reason why Doug Ford is looking into this, because I think if we see a shift or a change, I should say, in that market, we're going to experience the investors gradually coming back to the market, wanting to get properties for rental purpose.
Right.
And we're talking about residential investors at this point, and a lot of new investors that own their residential home, but they would like to have a couple of investment properties on the side.
Right. Makes sense.
Which is majority.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there's a lot of talk with new regulations coming for the LTB, landlord tenant board. What's the word? Like, what are we going to be seeing? Any sort of insight into that?
I don't think they're announced yet, but I think in the upcoming months we're going to see some sort of change and shift coming towards us.
Now, looking ahead to over the next, let's say, 3 to 6 months, there's a lot of political commentary out there. Obviously, elections are coming next year, maybe sooner. Who knows? But there's a lot of commentary out there. Job growth is in a decline, right? Where our unemployment numbers are up. Having these facts in mind, these data points in mind, do you still think that there's that same level of confidence in that buyer looking to buy that next home? Are
I
people
think the
still
confidence
scared?
is there. People truly believe in real estate investing. They know in the long term, real estate is not a short term, make a quick buck.
Correct.
But in the long term, that's how you protect your funds and money.
Yeah.
And that's how you grow wealth. And you protect your entire family basically under the same umbrella of real estate investing. And this, I think the faith is there, but people just need a little bit of help in today's market to get in the market, to be able to not have the scarcity of not being able to pay your mortgage payment and things like that. So based on affordability and also based on interest rates, I think that's where it dictates. But the faith and belief in home buyer and home ownership is there in the GTA.
Absolutely, and I think there's a lot of data that will back that up.
Yeah, tell us a little bit on your end. I think this is a better question for you because you are the one that's collecting data from home buyers on that end.
Yeah, so there's an Equifax report that was released not too long ago, which spoke about delinquencies. Okay, and delinquencies right now are sitting at about 0.18% of all registered mortgages in Canada. 0.18% are the number of mortgages that are in serious delinquency. So, what that shows you is that, obviously the delinquency or late payments are much higher in other categories, such as, auto loans, credit cards, etc., etc. But mortgages, not so much. So what that shows you, again, is that, people do really believe in this Canadian dream, if I can call it, of owning a home, of owning a property. So I think that asset class is still the best to invest in. So, people will sacrifice their car payments if they're in that sort of situation
to keep their home.
Yeah, they
of course.
they want to keep that. So they're willing to sacrifice their car payments, but they don't want to do that. They don't want to risk on their home. And I think part and parcel of that is also because if you decide that, okay, home ownership is too expensive, I'm going to sell my house, right? And I'm going to go rent. I mean, it's not like rent is much less either, right? I mean, give us an idea.
Not. It's
like
really
a
not.
2-bedroom condo, what is that rent for these days in Toronto?
If I'm not mistaken, we're looking over $3,000 per month.
Exactly. So, but just so we can give a comparative stat to our viewers,
sure.
If you buy a 2-bedroom condo in the GTA somewhere reasonable, what's the price point that you're looking at? 600,000? Would that be reasonable to say?
600, depending on location and square footage, maybe close to 700, 800 plus. Right. Downtown Toronto could really be pricey, but depending on where you go. So let's give it an average of, let's say, 750.
Right. So $750,000, let's say if you purchase it, you put 20% down, your mortgage payments approximately should be around $3,600 to $3,800 a month, right? So is that $800 a month, $600 to $800 more a month that you're paying versus renting? I think that'll be worth it to a lot of people. Like a lot of people would agree.
Well, it's a little bit more because you also have your condo maintenance fee, property tax, and things like that, adding to the entire expense.
Carrying costs, yeah.
So your carrying costs, especially with the interest rates, will be higher when you are a homeowner. However, a lot of those funds are going back to your pocket. So when you're paying down your principal, it's almost like saving money and getting return on your investment. Tell us a little bit about how people can actually save when it comes to home ownership versus renting. Because when you're paying rent, your money is gone. You're not going to see it again. But when you are a homeowner, give us a breakdown of how people can actually save even though they're paying more.
So your mortgage payment consists of what we call P&I, meaning principal, which is going towards the actual mortgage balance. And then, of course, there's the interest component, which is just the interest. Every month when you're making a payment, like you said, a portion of your mortgage balance is coming down, which is what we call you're building equity in your home when you're paying
Yes.
down the mortgage. There's two ways to building equities, right? Number one, of course, is making your monthly payments. Number two is accelerating your monthly payments or adding a little bit extra each month or at the end of the year. Maybe, for example, a common strategy I see from a lot of folks is when you, at the end of the year, you get your tax return. Rather than just, using it on whatever the case may be, you put that into your mortgage, pay down your principal. You'd be surprised how much you can save over a long period of time in interest by just making small extra payments every month, once a year, that type of thing. The second way that, obviously your equity is going to increase, as we know, is by increase in the real estate prices, right?
Yeah.
And that, I think, coming back to your original point, is that, in real estate, you need to be in it for the long term. And when you are in the long term, over the course, if you look at data from the last 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that's always on an upward trend with obviously minor blips here and there.
There is up and down in every market, but on average is about 5 to 7%
increase
each year.
Are you seeing the sort of market conditions vary by the region that you're in the GTA? Right?
Sure,
Toronto,
absolutely.
Scarborough, North York, Mississauga. Give us a little bit of an insight.
It comes down to affordability and mortgage qualification for most people.
Yeah.
So right now, a lot of the freehold properties, detached homes, semi-detached in the suburbs, they're thriving compared to a lot of the luxury properties, or even if not luxury, but a sort of investment properties in prime locations in town. So we're comparing suburbs to more like city lifestyle, and we're seeing the suburbs with higher number of sales. So I'll tell you an example. I work a lot in York region, and Newmarket right now is thriving.
Really?
Compared to a lot of luxury properties or nicer properties in Richmond Hill, which is more of a central location.
Correct, yeah.
So Newmarket is thriving because we are seeing a lot of first-time home buyers that are trying to get in the market with a budget of $1 million to get started.
Right.
They're shopping in areas where they can get the maximum value for their buck. Right. Which makes sense. So for example, if you're buying a condo in Richmond Hill or in Toronto for $800,000, you can get a semi-detached or even a detached home in Newmarket for $950,000, $1 million.
Right.
So it comes down to each individual to take a look at their portfolio, their needs, their lifestyle, their budget, and to see what is the right decision. Because I've seen a lot of home buyers that have gone to the suburbs, sell within a few years and come back to the city. And that's really shooting yourself in the foot because you're paying land transfer tax, commissions, and a lot of moving expenses and fees.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't just follow where everybody's going.
Right.
And I'm not suggesting just because some buyers or some suburbs are thriving right now, you should go buy there. I think it's a combination of a buyer studying the market and studying themselves.
Like you said, you do your homework. Right?
Do your homework, absolutely, and see what's going to be beneficial for you in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yep. I couldn't agree more with you on that. Being in the mortgage side of things, we do see that a lot. We help someone, purchase a home, and then they're back to us, next year or the year after, in some cases with that sort of situation. So you're right. I don't think that the basic fundamentals shouldn't change. You should always do your homework on where you're buying, commuting time, et cetera, and then make a decision where you're not just based on what's hot in the market right now. I agree with you 1000% on that.
And I have one question for you with regards to mortgages and where the market is going. We always hear agents and mortgage brokers talk about that, but we're not talking about that crystal ball. We're just looking at what we're dealing with and looking at the mortgage conditions right now. Where do you foresee the market by end of this year, next year? Because everybody wants to know what's next.
Right. I think to answer that question, you need to look at a couple of different factors, right? Number one is, people's mortgage affordability. To give you an idea, if you ask me, hey, Bilal, for a $100,000 income, how much could I qualify for a mortgage? That would mean last month, if I had done that for you, if I had done that exercise for you, $100,000 would mean $400,000 in mortgage money. In today's market, with the slightly relaxed rules on mortgages and interest rates where they're a little bit lower than last month, that number went from 400,000 to 460,000 and above for $100,000 income mark.
Correct. It's increased.
Increased. So your purchasing power has gone up by $60,000.
Yeah.
If you were making $100,000 a year. So that's number one. So your purchasing power is getting better. Number two, inventory. We still have a depressed inventory situation in the GTA market. I think in the G7 countries, we rank the lowest number of homes per 1,000 people. And then in Canada, Ontario is the lowest of all provinces per homes per 1,000 people. So we have depressed inventory. Purchasing power is going up. Number three, immigration hasn't slowed down, right? So we have a temporary ban on student visas, or that number is being reduced, I believe, announced by the government. But immigration's still there. So you have strong immigration numbers. And then obviously, last but not least, interest rates are trending downwards as we move into the end of this year, early next year, which means your purchasing power is going to get even better. So with those, factors in, it's only right to assume that property prices will go up. Okay. Now the timing, I think it's obviously, like you said, we don't have a crystal ball, but I foresee a very, very busy spring market next year. And if I may say very carefully, that it might be a different end to 2024 that what we normally see in the real estate market in the wintertime during Christmas.
Agreed.
I think it's going to be a different year this year.
Yes. At my brokerage at Remax, we're getting ready for December. We know it's going to get busier December, January. So I haven't booked any vacations. Okay. So we'll be working. I think it's going to get busier for all of us. And assuming that I'm a home buyer in today's market and knowing that the interest rates are going down, would you suggest for me to wait longer for, let's say, next spring market in order to make a purchase? Or would you suggest that we get in now, get a better value for the property that we purchase, and let the interest be at a higher point?
I would say, based on everything that I just said a few minutes ago, I think that definitely now is the time you should buy. But also, I always say that it's all about fundamentals. And I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head in the beginning of our chat today. Is if the numbers make sense for you now, then you should buy now. Regardless of where the rates are, what the market is doing, if you can buy now, buy now. Because again, as long as you're in for the long run. If your goal is to get into real estate and flip your house in 6 months' time or 1 year time and make a quick buck, then that's a different conversation. But if you are buying a home and you're buying a property for yourself, for your family, I don't think that, you should try to time the market. It's more about spent time in the market rather than trying to time the market.
Correct. I agree. Another interesting fact in today's market is that 1 in 4 listings are selling. Now, going back to us being usually in a seller's market and now being in the buyer's market, that's something that I haven't seen before. It's usually about 1 in 2 listings selling, or almost every listing selling in the GTA based on supply and demand. And that's something that's a little bit different this year for all of us.
And again, I think that's just people trying to time the market. Like, folks are out there, they're, reading all this stuff in the media. And I think the media has a lot of, I don't want to use the word negative, but I definitely think that, negative news does sell better. Negative news sells, always. So, for example, I read an article recently, which alluded to one of Canada's top lenders experiences a four-fold increase in mortgage delinquencies. Now, that four-fold increase, the reason why I say this is because we work very closely with this lender, and that four-fold increase in their delinquencies was 0.57% of their entire book of business. So, I would really say to consumers at home is that really when you see something in the media, please read it. Don't just look at the headline and believe in everything that you read in a headline, because again, those are catchy. They're designed to,
grab your attention,
to get clicks, to grab your attention. But always read things. And the best advice I can give you: reach out to your professional real estate agent, to your mortgage agent, mortgage broker, whoever it is that you're working with. reach out to your professionals and get advice.
A lot of people assume that just by studying the headlines and knowing, just reading about it, they can become the expert. Leave the job for a professional. You have no idea how expensive it is to buy and sell a property until you make a mistake, So as you said, your mortgage professional, your lawyer, your real estate broker, your accountant, leave the job for the professional. And going back to negative news sells, do you remember the days where the market was booming and everybody was talking about a crash for I don't even know how long, the bubble bursting. Do you remember those days? And negative news sells. So also going back to everything, just to wrap things up, consult everything with a professional.
So I hope you enjoyed this chat. I had a great time speaking to Michelle Refani from Remax Hallmark. And thank you for being our guest. Really enjoyed having you here. And mostly, I really hope that everyone got some good information out of this video. And if you like this, please leave us your thoughts and comments below, and we'll continue doing more of this to bring you real ground level what's happening in the market.
I was gonna say the market is changing, so in a couple of weeks we'll have better insights for you guys, and we can share them with our audience so they can know exactly what's going on in the real estate and mortgage side. And if you have any questions, make sure to reach out to us, and we'll be here to help you every step of the way.